The international break is here, and while most clubs take this moment to pause and breathe, the same can't really be said about Celtic. Because off the pitch, things have been heating up, and not in a good way. The highly anticipated meeting between the Celtic board and several fan organizations took place, and let's just say, if supporters were expecting a wave of change, or even a glimmer of hope, that's not what they got. Before diving into the drama, let's set the scene. This wasn't just any get-together. It was a carefully organized discussion involving members of Celtic's board and various fan groups, some of them long-standing and recognized, others newly formed but already carrying the voice of a frustrated fan base. Now, the Celtic Fans Collective, which has emerged as a prominent voice calling for reform and accountability at the club, wasn't originally on the invite list. The club had sent out invites to the more traditional groups like the Celtic Trust, Green Brigade, and the Association of Irish Supporters. But after negotiations, the collective managed to secure their spot at the table, with some of the other groups even giving up one of their seats to allow it. So who was actually there? 7 members of the Celtic Fans Collective, plus representatives from the Irish Supporters Association, the Disabled Supporters Association, Boys Celtic, the Celtic Trust, Green Brigade, and North Curve Celtic. The North of Ireland Supporters Group was also present, notably one of the few attending groups not affiliated with the collective. On the club's side, it's believed that Michael Nicholson and Chris McKay were present, as expected, although at the time of reporting, that hadn't been officially confirmed. But let's be honest, if they hadn't shown up, there would have been chaos. Now, here's where things start to unravel. What actually came out of this 2.5-hour-long meeting? Well, not much. At least, nothing concrete or hopeful. There's been no official statement released yet from the collective. They promised to put something out soon, and we expect the agreed minutes to be published shortly. But unofficial reports and leaks have already surfaced, and they paint a pretty bleak picture. According to a leaked message marked as confidential, and clearly not kept confidential, the Celtic board spent much of the meeting in denial mode, flat-out rejecting almost every major criticism from the fans. They don't accept that the club isn't progressing. They don't accept that recent transfer windows have failed. They don't accept that their recruitment strategy needs changing. And they certainly don't accept that there's a lack of ambition at the club or a disconnect between the board and the manager. In other words, nothing to see here, move along. That was pretty much the vibe from the boardroom. And it gets worse. One of the few concerns the board did acknowledge was the need for better communication with the fans. But even then, it felt like a token gesture. No real plan, no specific ideas, just a vague promise to look into it. And let's be honest, how often have we heard that before? How many times has the club claimed to value its supporters, only to continue operating like a closed shop, refusing to own up to mistakes or listen to those who fill the stands week after week? Another major point that surfaced was the club's apparent refusal to investigate the leak surrounding the Brendan Rodgers story that landed in the tabloids. When asked about it, the board reportedly said they'd asked everyone on the board if they were responsible, and everyone said no. That's it. That's the extent of the investigation. For a club that prides itself on professionalism, that's an astonishingly lax approach to something that could have seriously impacted the manager and the club's image. So what was the point of the meeting? That's the question that keeps coming back. If there was no intention to accept responsibility, to acknowledge the fans' concerns, or even to offer a roadmap for improvement, why even bother showing up? The suspicion, and it's a strong one, is that this meeting wasn't about transparency or dialogue. It was about optics, about ticking a box to say they'd spoken to the fans. Because behind the scenes, there's something the board probably is worried about: money. Fan revenue appears to be taking a hit. Multiple reports suggest that merchandise sales in September were way down. The club even opened a brand new store in the heart of Glasgow, twice the size of the old one, but it's reportedly been eerily quiet, even on matchday weekends. Not exactly what you want to see after investing a fortune into a new flagship retail space. Add to that the worrying trend of unsold tickets. Sunday's match against Motherwell, a home league fixture on a weekend, did not sell out, which is pretty unheard of at Celtic Park. The club was scrambling to push ticket sales in the final days, flooding social media with promotions and reminders. That's not the behavior of a club comfortable with its current level of support. And it doesn't stop there. Europa League matches, which should be big occasions under the lights at Paradise, have also seen worrying attendance figures. The game against Braga had huge gaps in the stands. Will the upcoming match against Sturm Graz tell a different story? Maybe, but there's no guarantee. The kickoff time is more fan-friendly, but the mood around the club right now isn't exactly inspiring people to rush and grab tickets. It all adds up to a bigger picture. Discontent is growing, and the financial reality of that is beginning to hit home. And perhaps, just perhaps, that's the real reason behind this sudden burst of boardroom engagement. A genuine desire to connect with fans? Or a desperate move to stop the bleeding? Unfortunately, the way the board handled the meeting has likely made things worse. Their refusal to acknowledge any fault or offer meaningful change only adds fuel to the fire. If anything, it's reinforced the belief among many supporters that this is a club stuck in its ways, more interested in protecting its own image than building a better future. There's another meeting already penciled in for next week, on Thursday the 16th of October. That gives the collective and other groups some time to regroup, reflect on how things went, and possibly adjust their approach. Before the first meeting, there was an effort to avoid disruptive protests for the upcoming match at Dens Park. The focus was on supporting the team rather than escalating the off-pitch tensions. But after the underwhelming meeting with the board, it remains to be seen whether that strategy will hold. Now, while all that noise rumbles on off the pitch, let's not forget there's still football to be played, or rather, prepared for. The second international break of the season is underway, and it's a mixed bag for Celtic. Some players have jetted off around the world to represent their nations. Others are staying put at Lennoxtown, either through injury, lack of form, or simply being overlooked. And then there's the group quietly training, waiting for their chance once club action resumes. But make no mistake, this break comes at a crucial time for the club, both on and off the field. Let's take a look at who's out on international duty first. Kasper Schmeichel's off with Denmark, bringing all his experience to the Danish camp. Ville Sinisalo has linked up with Finland, while Liam Scales is away with Ireland. Cameron. Carter Vickers, who's had his fair share of injury problems, has been called up by the United States, which might surprise a few people considering his game time lately. Benji Negrin is representing Sweden, and young Sebastian Tani is away with Tunisia. Marcelo Serra is off with Uruguay, Daisen Maeda with Japan, and there's Anthony Ralston and Kieran Tierney away with Scotland. Kobe Donovan's also been selected for Scotland's under-21s. That's a fair number of call-ups, and although it's always a point of pride to have your players wearing the national shirt, there's also the lingering worry of injuries, fatigue, and how much these guys will actually play. Because in recent international windows, it's been a bit of a trend. Our lads get the call-up, but they end up sitting on the bench or playing limited minutes. That doesn't exactly help when they return to club duty low on rhythm and carrying travel legs. Then there's the group not called up at all. Some of it's down to injuries, like Alistair Johnston, who's still working his way back and will hopefully be available for the match against Dundee. Austin Trusty also hasn't been called up by the US, and that might raise a few eyebrows considering his previous involvement. Others, like Mishael Lang-Baliska, are more of a mystery. He declared for DR Congo, but hasn't been selected in their last two squads. Could be form, could be something else going on behind the scenes. Either way, he's staying home this time. Hyeon Ji-young hasn't been called up by South Korea, and Kelechi Iheanacho misses out on Nigeria's squad. Although to be fair, they've got plenty of attacking options right now. Johnny Kinney was involved with Ireland during the last break, but he's not been recalled. Ari Engels isn't in the Belgium squad, and Rio Haitate's absence from Japan's setup continues, which, given his performances, might sting a bit. Then we've got the group that either aren't international players anymore or never really were. Callum McGregor, of course, has retired from Scotland duty, and James Forrest, despite his experience, remains out of the national picture. Also still at Lennoxtown are guys like Jumai Simpson-Puzzy, Sean Yamada, Hayato Amura, and Paolo Bernardo, who are unlikely to be near the first team for now, but still make up the training group during the break. When you tally it all up, there are about 30 players on the books at the moment, including a few who are clearly out of the picture, and with 11 away on international duty, it still leaves a solid number for Brendan Rodgers and his staff to work with. This break, as frustrating as it might be for fans desperate to see action, might actually be a blessing in disguise. It gives the squad a chance to regroup, rest, and, for those not away, sharpen up. And Celtic will need to come back firing because what lies ahead is no joke. The next run of fixtures is absolutely stacked. We've got 8 games between now and the final international break of the year, including some massive clashes. Europa League nights are back, and those aren't just tests of quality, but also of character. The Cup's semi-final against Rangers is looming large, a game that needs no hype. Hearts away at Tenecastle is never a stroll, and sprinkled in between all that are must-win domestic matches where any slip-up could shift the momentum of the season. It's relentless, and this break is the last real chance to catch a breath before the chaos kicks in again. So for the coaching staff, this international pause becomes even more important. They need to make the most of the time with the players they have. Tactically, physically, mentally, Celtic need to level up in every department. Because if there's one thing that's become painfully clear in recent weeks, it's that just cruising through fixtures won't cut it anymore. The supporters demand more, the squad is capable of more, and this next stretch will be about proving that. It's also a big moment for individuals in the squad, especially those who've been on the fringes or haven't hit their stride yet. Players like Paulo Bernardo, who's still trying to find his rhythm in the team, need to show something. Others like Rio Hatate, who's been inconsistent or carrying knocks, have a chance to reset and come back strong. This is where depth can become a weapon if used correctly. But if players don't step up now, they risk being left behind when the business end of the season starts. And you can bet the fans will be watching closely. The disappointment from the boardroom meeting has only intensified the scrutiny on every other part of the club. From transfers to tactics, from selection choices to performances, nothing is flying under the radar right now. Celtic supporters want to see leadership, ambition, and a clear plan, not just from the board but from the pitch as well. It's a strange atmosphere around the club right now. There's this disconnect between what the board believes and what the fans are seeing. And while that can sometimes create tension and pressure, it can also serve as a rallying cry. Because as much as supporters are furious with the way things are being run, they still care deeply about the team. They'll turn up, they'll back the players, they'll sing from the stands. But they want that same passion and effort reflected from those wearing the badge and those making the decisions behind the scenes. So as this international break plays out, every day matters. Every training session, every recovery session, every tactical meeting. It's all part of building momentum for what's to come. Because once the games return, it's going to be fast, intense, and unforgiving. There won't be time for excuses or second chances. The margin for error is shrinking, and the expectations are rising. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. There's a storm brewing in the east end of Glasgow, and it's not just the October rain. Rumors are swirling around Lennoxtown that Brendan Rodgers has had a fiery bust-up with Celtic star striker Kyogo Furuhashi, and that the Northern Irish boss has made his stance crystal clear. He won't play for me again. Whispers began late last week after training sessions reportedly turned tense. Sources close to the club suggest that Rodgers has grown increasingly frustrated with Furuhashi's attitude and performances in recent matches, feeling the Japanese forward hasn't shown the same hunger that made him a fan favorite. One insider even described a proper shouting match that ended with Furuhashi storming off the pitch, leaving teammates stunned. While the club has made no official comment, several senior players are said to be deeply unsettled by the situation. Furuhashi, adored by supporters for his tireless movement and clinical finishing, has been a central figure in Celtic's recent dominance of Scottish football. His sudden fall from grace has left fans scratching their heads and worried about what it means for the club's attack moving forward. Rodgers, known for his strict standards, has never been shy about making bold decisions, but this latest incident could test even his authority. Some within Parkhead fear that losing Furuhashi could upset the balance of the dressing room, especially with crucial fixtures on the horizon. Others, however, believe Rodgers is simply laying down the law, ensuring no player, no matter how popular, is bigger than the team. As one source put it, it's more than football, it's pride, personality, and power. Something's broken there, and it'll take a miracle to fix it. For now, Celtic fans can only watch and wonder. Will cooler heads prevail, or has Kyogo Furuhashi played his last game under Brendan Rodgers? In Glasgow's green half, the silence says it all. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.